Hi guys. This week we're going to look at some. It's more of a phrase. I've posted this over at Stage 32. So if you're a regular over at Stage 32, you may have seen this thread I posted over there, and you'll also hear the dogs in the background eating away on some treats. The question I posed was based on something that my late mother said. When my son was first born, he's in his 30s now, she said, "Don't ever say that he's a naughty boy. Say that he's done a naughty thing, because if he is a naughty boy, there is nothing he can do to change that. If he's done a naughty thing, he can choose not to do that naughty thing again." So where is this taking us? Well, I think there is no bad things in writing. When people say, "Oh, that's a rule, you can't possibly call out a camera angle, you can't possibly tell an actor what to do, it's the director's job too," and following the philosophy of my mother, that is incorrect, because what you're saying is that those things are bad. They cannot exist. They should never be considered. They're just the wrong thing constantly, and there's no way they can be done correctly. That, on its face, is incorrect because they exist to be used. People are conflating two things, bad writing and the tool itself. They're putting those things together. It's a little bit like saying, we see whales in Sydney Harbour in June rather than July. That means it's going to be an early summer. It could be any number of things. There is a correlation between bad writing and the bad use of writing tools. But those use of those particular tools is not the cause of the bad writing. There is no direct connection there. Someone put up, and I don't know whether they're being sarcastic, a couple of pages out of Avatar and said, "I can't believe James Cameron got this made. Look at all the rules he's breaking." And of course, some people say, "Well, once you're James Cameron, you can break rules." Oh, an explanation for the hat. Over Christmas, I promised my wife I'd grow my hair back. I hate hair. I much rather have my head shaved. So until it either becomes a good head of hair or she gives up and I shave my head again, you're going to be getting a hat. So James Cameron did these things because he did them well. And of course we got that, well, you can do that when you're James Cameron. Or he's directing the show, he's allowed to do it. He's allowed to do things that directors are allowed to do, even though he's writing it. All the excuses to back up their current understanding, rather than look at it and go, well, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe I could use a camera angle if it was important to the story and I know how to do it well. And that's the thing. If you know how to do it well, if you think, I really want to put a camera angle in. We're going to stay with camera angles. I really want to put close in on the eye and show the pupil dilate. Go read a lot of scripts that have that sort of stuff in it and see how they did it. Because the important thing about a tool is knowing how to use it. That's what apprenticeships are for. If you want to be a carpenter, I can go to Bunnings now, which is our big, it might be Home Depot in your country or whatever. I can go to a big hardware chain, buy chisels, hammers, nail guns, nails, whatever. And I will make something truly ordinary and maybe even terrible because I don't know how to use the tools. And that's another expression, not so much from my mum, but a bad tradesman blames their tools. These are an ocean of bad tradespeople. They're saying, "Oh, no, you can't use those tools." They're blaming the tools for the bad work rather than going, that person. And I've made the point that maybe we should, you, me, everyone, remove the word rules from the writing vocabulary. Because rules are truly meant to control someone's behaviour. And art isn't controlled. Art shouldn't be controlled. Art should be free form. Art should be able to find its level, find what it needs to be. So if we remove the word rules, we'd have to start replacing them with craft or skill and have that conversation with someone rather than say, oh, look, you're breaking the rule. You've got like 9 lines for that action. The rule is that it should only be 4 lines for an action sequence until you read an action film. And then it's action, 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 big blocks. It's not like little 4 lines. What you should say is that you've got 9 lines of action there and it's not written very well. You just don't write it very well. You're over-describing some parts, not describing other parts adequately. It's got no feel to it. It's not very propulsive. Actually look at what you've written. That was some advice. Someone put up a few pages and said, I'll comment on my pages. And everyone was doing that. Well, your dialogue, there's these huge blocks of dialogue. Dialogue shouldn't be more than 3 lines. They were just jumping in with all these things. And all the formatting issues that were there. And the advice I got, I said, now just write down or draw would be even better. Draw what you've written in the screenplay. It was a highly stylized thing. It had like lizard humans in it, people that were like lizards but walking around. And they described that, like Mrs. So-and-so is a very elegantly white-skinned lizard, red coat, high heels, whatever. But then that was it. They described that person as Mrs. Lizard, and that was it. So we had, going to go back to my little, that. And then big blocks of dialogue of her reading something and reading it out loud, where she could have had, here's Mrs. Lizard, who then sits down in a certain chair, this person's not flexible enough, sits down in a chair, thumbs through the book, some emotion on the face, sitting in the chair allows you to describe the room. It gives you some momentum. People just don't stand still. They're not these. And that was the bad thing. That was the lack of craft. That they described as a really interesting person and did nothing with them. They gave us a good visual cue of a white-skinned lizard, and it was really quite cool. And it's going to be a great idea. I read a book years ago, one of the very, very few books I've ever read, about dogs that were humanoid. They'd been modified by this crazy Frankenstein-type doctor. The village they lived in had died off, and they just all turned up in New York. These talking, walking dogs. Very good novel. I'll see if I can get hold of the cover and I'll put it up here for you. So it's a good little novel. So she had these interesting characters, then did nothing. Big blocks of... and people were saying, oh, there's too many lines of dialogue, break it up. Without attacking the craft, without saying, look, you're not placing this person in a real room. I have no idea what the room is. Just said lounge room day. Is it, very heavily, if you go back to one of my early videos, you'll see my downstairs lounge room. It's quite, it's white leather lounge, antique type furniture. Up my office is just like a studio. It's got my dogs, it's got my guitars. Different rooms in a house have different feelings. So just to say lounge room day, you have no idea what it's like. Upstairs office, no idea what it's like. You've got to put people in a situation, and that's the craft. So to say too many lines of dialogue is not the craft. That's not the problem. It's not that. It's no craft. I've hit 9 minutes, and I haven't really made many points. This is the other thing. There's a quote that John August and Craig Mason say on their Script Notes podcast. That is, there is no right answers or no bad answers, just better questions. So there is no right answers. There is no answers to these questions. There is no 4 lines of dialogue, 3 lines of dialogue, 2 lines of dialogue. Action must be followed by there is none of that. There is just better questions. So when you do something, you go, is that the best way of doing it? What happens if I don't do it that way? What about if I do it this way? And eventually you'll come up with what is correct at the moment until the next better question. That's it. If you could do the things for me, that'd be fantastic. Thank you for watching it all the way to the end. Give us a thumbs up, all that sort of stuff. If you want to reach out, Griffiths Creative, so griffithscreative.com.au, that was a little stinger at the front. And until next time, guys, keep writing. Bye.